Women voters. It is our Shaker tradition to present all candidates for local office to our voters. This forum provides the candidates a chance to introduce themselves and answer questions posed to all of them. This forum has a live audience and is being webcast in real time. After we finish tonight, the entire forum will be posted online in 3 separate sessions for the 3 elected offices covered tonight on the League of Women Voters Shaker Heights website and League of Women Voters Shaker Heights social media platforms. Our moderator is Lee Tucker. Ms. Tucker is chair of the Cleveland chapter of the League of Women Voters Greater Cleveland, where she has been chapter chair for Cleveland for more than 4 years. She is also the assistant chief financial officer for Cuyahoga County. Please welcome Ms. Tucker.
Thanks, Lynn. Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening for the Shaker Heights candidate forums. There will be 3 forums this evening. The first will be the judicial candidate forum, followed by the city council, and then lastly will be the school board candidate forum. I will be your moderator for tonight's forum, but before we get started, I'd like to go over a few guidelines for the candidate forums. We ask that candidates and their supporters refrain from wearing partisan items such as campaign buttons inside the room. Campaign materials may be placed on the literature tables outside in the lobby. So after the forums, be sure to pick up the candidate literature. Each candidate must appear in person at the time slotted for his or her race. No stand-ins are permitted. We ask the audience to avoid expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during the forum proceedings. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. During the question and answer session, each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to each question, and responses will be limited to 1 minute. Candidates on the municipal court judge panel will also have 1 minute for a closing statement after a question and answer session. Our timers, who are located in the front, raise your hands. We'll give a 30-second warning and a signal when their time is ended. Once your time is ended, I'll let you finish your thought, but try to wrap it up because we have 3 candidate forums, so we're going to stick very strictly to these time limits. The order of speaking has been determined by drawing the lots. The candidate who makes the first opening statement will make the last closing statement, and the candidate responses will rotate. Only written questions will be accepted. Cards for writing questions will be distributed to the audience before and during the forum, and in the chat feature, the live stream, and submitted in advance via email. For the people who are watching tonight via YouTube, you may submit questions to the Shaker Heights, that's one word, Shaker Heights, at leagueofwomenvotersgreatercleveland.org. Again, that's Shaker Heights at leagueofwomenvotersgreatercleveland.org. League question screeners will review submitted questions to avoid duplication, ensure readability, and avoid inappropriate or irrelevant questions. I want to give you a little bit background on each of the races before the debate. Before the forum. The municipal court judge is a Shaker Heights Municipal Court, and it covers Beachwood, Hunting Valley, Pike, Shaker Heights, and University Heights. There's 4 candidates for 1 position. The candidates will be filling an unexpired part of a 6-year term that runs through the end of 2023. The judge oversees a budget of approximately $2.3 million and at least 8 direct reports. The employees include 3 magistrates, 4 bailiffs, a probation officer, and an administrative staff. The salary is approximately $145,000. Because this is the only race in tonight's forum that is contested, the candidates will be allowed to provide the time for an opening and a closing statement. The other races will not. It'll just be an opening statement. Please remember to turn off or mute all cell phones, and we ask that all the audience avoid expressions of support or opposition to any candidate to keep it moving and so that you can hear the candidates' responses. So we will start off. The candidates were starting based on, they drew lots. And first of all, we have Mr. James Satola. We'll start off with his opening statement.
Do we leave the mask on or take
You can take them off.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Jim Satola, and I am one of the 4 candidates for the Shaker Heights Municipal Judge race, as you can see. I thank you for the opportunity to the League of Women Voters to be able to present ourselves to you tonight. In fact, I'm a graduate of Shaker High School, and I'm familiar with this small auditorium, being involved in the theater program a lot when I was here. But I just want to say I welcome the opportunity to run for and hopefully become the next Shaker Heights Municipal Court judge, because I think, as I have stated in other forums, judicial service is something I have wanted to do since I began law school in 1986. I graduated after a career in medical research. I went to Case Western Reserve University Law School, where I was on the law review. And after graduating, served as a law clerk to legendary federal judge John Manos here on the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, and then spent the next 20 years as a litigator with the law firm then known as Squire, Sanders, and Dempsey, with offices all around the world. I, while there, gained a huge amount of experience litigating large cases and small ones in courts throughout the country: municipal courts, common pleas courts, courts of appeals, federal trial courts, federal appeal courts, and even on 3 occasions, the Supreme Court of the United States. I won't be much longer here, but I just want to say that of the candidates, I think I bring the broadest amount of legal experience to this race, in the fact that, one, I've just been at it longer than all of the others, graduating law school in 1989, but also in the various types of legal service that I have done, not only as a law clerk in federal court, spanning every kind of civil and criminal case you could imagine, to state courts. And then I also served as a hearing officer, which is kind of a court of appeals judge for real estate valuation. So I, again, thank you for the opportunity to answer questions later on. And I hope you consider my candidacy. If you want further information, I do have a fairly extensive website that gives a large background: satolaforjudge.com, with the word spelled out. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ann Kelton Walton Keller, your opening statement.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to everyone here tonight. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to speak to you about my candidacy. From the moment that I became a lawyer, I began representing clients in court. I've represented clients in municipal, state, and federal courts all over the state of Ohio, handling many criminal cases. I also have experience in civil litigation. I have, through that experience, learned what it's like to be in the position of a defendant, and my extensive criminal litigation experience was one of the reasons that I was appointed to the position of magistrate and later appointed to be an acting judge in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, because, as you may or may not know, the vast majority of the cases handled in the Shaker Heights Court are criminal and traffic in nature. And that experience that I have lends itself to my position that I'm currently in as a magistrate in Shaker Heights Court and an acting judge. And there are many things that I want to do to enhance the court. I'm very excited about these ideas. One thing that I think will immediately improve and protect the rights of defendants is to have a public defender present in court for all court proceedings. This is the way that I believe I can most immediately affect change in the lives of the clients of the court, who are the defendants who come before us. Most people who come into court are unrepresented by counsel at their arraignment. They're scared. They don't understand what they're doing. I know this not only from being on the bench, but from also holding the hands of my clients for years in litigation. And having an attorney with them to help them decide how to proceed, explain to them their rights, is necessary. It's not something that happens in most municipal courts, and it's something that I want to bring to the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, and I've thought through this idea. I also want to create a dedicated domestic violence docket to give more attention to those cases. I want to enhance the court technology, including improving a fully functioning online docket. And I want to continue the court's efforts towards bail reform. I am very happy for the opportunity to speak more about those ideas later. I am the most prepared for this position because of my experience in court and my experience as a magistrate. I was rated by all of the bar associations on Judge for Yourself as excellent. I received a perfect score on that process from my colleagues in the legal profession. It is also because of that experience and my preparedness that I was endorsed by the Cleveland Plain Dealer and that I was endorsed by the Shaker Heights Democratic Club. I have lived in this community, this court jurisdiction for my entire life. I'm raising my family here, and I want to be your judge in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court and use that experience to benefit the community and serve the community well. Thank you very much. I hope to earn your support on Election Day.
Thank you. Ms. Sydney Strickland Saffold, your opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney Strickland Saffold, and I too am grateful for you attending tonight's event, and am excited to have the opportunity to present to you. I'm seeking your support for my candidacy in the November 2nd election as judge of the Shaker Heights Municipal Court. My vision for the court is to also improve upon the court. I am a practitioner downtown, and I am licensed in the United States Northern and Southern District Courts, as well as the United States Supreme Court. As a criminal defense attorney, my clientele and my experience has lent itself to my vision for our municipal court. The most important change that I intend to make in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court is to fold in and expand upon the pre-existing diversion docket, our diversion program that exists. I want the first point of contact with the court to include a pretrial diversion analysis that most importantly focuses on the mental health needs of defendants that come through our court. Many folks come through the municipal court for all the crimes are misdemeanor crimes in municipal court. And I'm hopeful to, I will in fact rather, initiate a program where we do a mental health analysis for each defendant, as oftentimes people are, their conduct is symptomatic of an underlying condition. And some folks don't have the wherewithal, the resource, or the access to things to the mental health treatment, or to the ability to identify these conditions that exist in order to treat them. And oftentimes these conditions are symptomatic, their conduct is symptomatic of these conditions. I believe that folding in a mental health component into the diversion program will keep our community safe. We'll be able to redirect that energy that these people have that have resulted in these criminal cases into getting services, treatment provided to them, dual diagnoses programs, and access to workforce development, as well as access to programming that will help us reduce recidivism and allow folks to have their cases adjudicated through the court and where they're eligible, and without having a conviction that's going to encumber them moving forward in life. I've been practicing in the criminal defense realm for the lion's share of my practice. I've litigated thousands of cases. I'm a trial attorney. I'm hopeful to bring that skill set and my willingness and hope to help people and help our community, keep our community safe, to the court as judge for the Shaker Heights Municipal Court. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Laura Creed, your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight. For the first time in 27 years, the voters have an opportunity to select a new judge for the Shaker Heights Municipal Court. It is paramount that whoever is our next judge has broad legal experience and broad life experience. And I'm the candidate that has that qualifications. I have a career that spans almost 3 decades. I initially started in private practice, and I've spent the last 25 years of my career at the Court of Common Pleas in Cuyahoga County. There is no better training ground to be a judge than working in the Common Pleas Court. I've been a judicial staff attorney where I was the judge's right hand. And from there, I learned how to research and write opinions and make decisions. And I also had the opportunity to talk to the judge about why he or she was making that decision and just bird's eye view of how to conduct hearings. So when I became a magistrate in 2015, I hit the ground running, and I knew how to listen to people and how to bring my own personal style to being a magistrate. And finally, I've created a court resource center at the Common Pleas Court. I direct that now, and that has been my greatest joy, my most proud accomplishment. And it's from there that I've really learned how people feel about coming into a court. They're scared, they don't know what to do, and it's the role of the court to be helpful and welcoming those people that come to our court. I've spent a lifetime with the belief that justice for all should truly mean justice for all. And I want to bring that to Shaker Heights, as I've done with my resource center. But also, I'd like to make some technology upgrades so that people understand where they need to be and what's happening in court. I want to have extended hours and virtual hearings. And I will continue to collaborate with the access to justice partners that I've acquired over my nearly 30 years in the law. I'm a trusted leader, not only in the community, but in the legal community. I've served as a co-chair of this League of Women Voters for the preceding 3 years, so I understand the issues that we have here in Shaker. I've also been on the board of my synagogue, the Bar Association. In addition, I'm a mentor, a teacher. I'm a parent of children that attended the Shaker Public Schools, and I just want to bring that experience to Shaker Heights. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll start with our question and answer session. Again, the questions, you have 1 minute to answer the questions. The timers up front will give you a 30-second warning as well as your final warning to stop. We'll start our first question. We'll just kind of go round robin and we'll rotate the questions, but the first question will be directed towards Mr. Satola. Okay. Other than being fair and impartial, what do you think is the most important quality in a judge and why?
Listening. The ability to listen to what people have to say, to learn what the case before you is about, to understand it, to actually truly understand it on all sides that are before the judge, to be able to render a fair decision. So that's maybe a related question, but the ability to listen and understand is probably the most important role that a judge has. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone wants me to repeat the question, just let me know. Ms. Keller?
Thank you. I believe the most important trait, other than being fair and impartial, that a judge has is being respectful. That includes not only listening, but also having the other qualities necessary to be a good judge. Knowledge of the law that is going on in the courtroom is extremely important. Being a good judge is not just about being an administrator or someone dealing with the budget. It's also about courtroom knowledge, trial experience, understanding the shoes of the litigators who are before you and the defendants who are before you. And I believe that it is so important to be respectful of everyone who comes into the courtroom. I have a reputation, having been on the bench for the past 5 years, for being respectful and listening and carefully considering every case that comes before me. And that is something that I believe is incredibly important to being a great judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Saffold?
Thank you. I think the most important quality in a judge is having a vast experience dealing with different types of litigants. I believe it's very important to have the knowledge of the court, the rules of law, the most current status of the law. So the law is constantly changing. A judge needs to be abreast of the changes that exist in the law, but also be able to apply experience in having dealt with every type of litigant from every walk of life. In my practice, I've had the experience of dealing with people that most consider to be the least of us. I've heard every story and backstory that you could imagine that has existed, and it's provided me with the ability to see people, understand people, take my time with how we approach that person's situation, because each person that's litigating in the court is coming for a reason that is probably one of the most horrifying or difficult experiences they've ever had. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Creed?
Other than being fair and impartial, I think the most important trait is temperament for a judge. And what I mean by temperament, you need to listen more than you talk. You have to understand where people are coming from. My experience, my legal experience, and my broad life experience gives me a great view of that, especially people that are unrepresented. I know how they feel. When I conduct a hearing, I always explain to the parties, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is the standard. This is what you need to prove. And then I let them ask questions if they don't understand it. And then we proceed with the hearing. And when the hearing is done, I tell them what I've heard, and I tell them why I'm making the decision that I made. So I think it's important to have that kind of temperament where you listen to people and explain your decisions and understand where they're coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. Walton Keller. What do you see as the biggest problem facing the Shaker Municipal Court today, and what would you do to fix or improve it?
The biggest problem that I see facing the Shaker Heights Municipal Court today is the lack of resources to help unrepresented defendants. One of the things that I would do is to have a public defender, as I mentioned in my opening statement, in court at all times to help people who come into court, the majority of whom are charged with criminal or traffic offenses, help them make the decision about how to proceed in their case. There are many, many times that someone who is scared will come before me and will say that they want to enter a plea without understanding the consequences that that will have on their life going forward. And by having a public defender come into court, I'll be able to help those people make the right decision as to how they should proceed and protect their constitutional rights. Equality for everyone is the most important thing to me, and that is the most important factor in how I feel about becoming a municipal court judge. I want to make sure that I treat everyone equally and that everyone, whether they have the funds to hire an attorney or not, has representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Strickland Saffold?
Thank you. The biggest problem facing Shaker Heights Municipal Court currently are policies that they affect people in the worst possible ways. On certain occasions. I have had the occasion and am actively practiced before the court. And one of the motivations for wanting to run for judge in this court is so I can protect the community and bring about change. I've represented individuals who have been arrested for stealing socks and underwear for their children that they couldn't afford to purchase. And there's a policy as dictated by the prosecutor that they must serve 10 days in jail. Under no circumstances was there any room to resolve these cases. Like I said before, I don't believe in encumbering individuals with a conviction where there are methods and other means and approaches to helping these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Creed?
Yes, could you repeat the question?
Sure. What do you see as the biggest problem facing the Shaker Municipal Court today, and what would you do to fix or improve it?
Thank you. It's really all about access to justice, and the thing that really needs to be updated is the technology. I had someone come into the Court Resource Center and ask me when their court date was. I went online to find out, and I couldn't figure it out. And I've been an attorney for almost 30 years. You have to have at least access to the court so that you even know when you need to show up. That's just basic. So definitely need some technology upgraded, and I would apply for grants for that. The other thing is the court needs to provide simple instructions and explanations to people. It needs to be welcoming and helpful. Courts cannot give legal advice, but there's a lot of things that courts can tell people. So I think it starts at the most basic level of access to justice. We need to start there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Satola?
I guess following on the same theme, whether it's access or accessibility, whether I see that as a problem, but it's one of the most intimidating things is not only, I do not practice a lot in municipal courts, but it's my understanding that just the court costs and fees to have your case heard can be exorbitant for many of the people appearing before the court, but also accessibility is said to make sure that there are resources for everyone before the court, no matter their understanding or their experience, for them to understand what is going on before the court. So, so I would say that the biggest thing to make sure of is that we are there for the people that need the court. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Strickland Saffold. Would you see your election to the Shaker Municipal Court as a stepping stone to a higher court, or would you commit to serving a full term?
I would absolutely commit to serving a full term. I'm a daughter of this community. I attended Laurel School in Shaker Heights from preschool until I graduated. My parents live in Beachwood, Ohio. My grandparents live on Winchell Road. I live in the Lomond neighborhood as well. My children attend Shaker schools, and this is where I came home to the first chance I got once I finished my law school training. I want to help people. So in my criminal defense capacity, I chose my career so that I could help people. And when I see these injustices that I see happening throughout the justice system, the best way I can help more people is by serving as a judge. It's what I've intended to do my whole life. I intend on retaining this seat until I can't retain it any further and am effectively term limited by age, as it were. But I intend on being in this community. I intend on being a fixture in this community, and I hope to help and preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Creed?
Thank you. Obviously, with a career of 30 years already, this is not a stepping stone. This is a final destination. This is the community that I love and I want to serve. So no, this is not a stepping stone for me. I just want to bring everything I have, my legal experience and my life experience and my dedication to access for justice, and bring that all to bear here in Shaker. So no, this is not a stepping stone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Satola?
Okay, I will answer the question quite frankly, being candid. It would be my intent to serve a full term or two. That's with my age. That is the most that I could really do at this particular point. Again, like Ms. Creed, I've been an attorney for 36 years, so there's not a lot of different opportunities to do that. But as many of you know, I have run for other judicial positions because frankly, I have experience at all levels of the court, from trial to appeals in federal and state courts. So honestly, yes, I would intend to serve a full term, but if an opportunity came up for, say, being appointed or something of that nature, I would certainly consider it. I mean, I think I would owe you that honesty. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Walton Keller?
Thank you very much. My desire to be elected to the Shaker Heights Municipal Court is not a stepping stone for me. I was born and raised in this community, as I said, and I'm raising my 3 children here. I was a municipal court lawyer when I was in practice. About 50% of my practice was in municipal courts. I was raised by a municipal court criminal defense lawyer. I love the law. I love helping people. I have developed so much knowledge in my area of law that my colleagues ask me to come back and teach municipal court seminars on legal education. I love being in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court. The past 5 years of experience that I've gained as a magistrate and acting judge has shown me that I was right to accept the position 5 years ago. And I knew that taking that position would prepare me the most to be the judge in the future of the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, where I want to be for my career. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we will start with Ms. Creed. How would you protect the rights of victims of crime?
Thank you. The victims of crime, there's a lot of resources that I would point them in the direction of. Like I said, with my years of experience, I have gained contacts and people that I've partnered with and collaborated with. For instance, the Family Justice Center is one that comes to mind immediately. But there are a lot of other resources out there, the Rape Crisis Center. There's also a Victim for Crimes Fund. So there's a lot of different resources, but I've been fortunate enough to collaborate and partner with these many legal partners. And I would definitely reach out to them and have them come to the court and help any victims of crime that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Satola?
Oh, I didn't realize I was second again. You know, the easiest answer to that, quite frankly, is one, to apply the law fairly to everyone that is there. I think what comes into this as well is to apply the applicable law. Supreme Court Justice Mike Donnelly and others have written papers on prosecutors often allowing criminal defendants to plea to charges that are less than what they actually committed or that are not applicable. And I think we have to look to victims to make sure that if someone does choose to plea to some fault that they did, that it's honestly and fairly treated, that obviously prosecutors have leeway and as people should be given a second chance, but also to apply the law as it is written and not as it is possibly allowed to be applied. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walton Keller?
Thank you very much. One of the things that I've proposed is to create a domestic violence docket. And the reason that I have made this proposition is that I have seen an increase in offenses of violence, and there's a national trend in an increase in domestic violence. And I believe that a domestic violence docket would bring together the stakeholders in municipal court, such as victims advocates. The court already has a relationship with other agencies, such as the Journey Center, that help victims in domestic violence and other violent offense cases. And I will have a probation officer, the prosecutor, a defense attorney, and all of the stakeholders come together in order to properly address those cases and give those cases the attention that they need to make sure that victims' rights are protected, and make sure that once a court hears a domestic violence case, the judge might not find out what happens in that case until the end of the case and won't know if a protection order is being complied with, something like that. So I would have a domestic violence docket to make sure that I stay on top of protecting victims' rights. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Strickland Saffold?
Thank you. The judge of the Shaker Heights Municipal Court is not only the judge that hears the cases, but the judge is also the administrative judge. As was mentioned in the intro given before the forum started, the judge manages the budget for the court. I would have a dedicated staff person available to victims as an advocate that can be there for respond and present with victims at each and every hearing that victims attend. There's no need to point them in the right direction to individuals. There's no need to outsource their needs and the things that we can provide to them. Domestic violence is the most serious and most violent crime that this court will ever hear, but there are victims of all sorts of cases that need to be accounted for. The judge has the ability and the resources to provide for that and budget for a person to be dedicated to the court for the purposes of serving those victims' needs, because the victims are entitled to equal representation as well.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Satola. What will you do as judge that will most positively affect Shaker's youth and the future generations of young citizens in our city?
Well, that would be easy for me. Is one of the things that I've really been dedicated to my entire career is education and trying to be in the community to let people know about my sincere love for the rule of law and the importance of the courts. I have for many years taught civics and constitutional rights in the Cleveland and East Cleveland high schools, and also at the high school and college level throughout, teach about the law and about, frankly, the legal system. So, you know, going to the schools, perhaps even holding court at schools to introduce students to what the court is really about and know that the court is part of their community and not something to fear. So maintaining the importance of educating the community about the court would be something central to me.
Thank you. Ms. Walton Keller?
Thank you. Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Thanks.
What will you do as judge that will most positively affect Shaker's youth and the future generations of young citizens in our city?
As judge of the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, I will set a good example for the youth in our cities by serving with humility, by treating people with respect. I will continue the court's practice of having students come into the court to have mock trials and engage with the judge and the court staff so that they understand the court process, answer questions. I feel that as judge of a municipal court, you are usually the face that people see. Most people don't find themselves in the common pleas court during their lifetime. They find themselves in a municipal court, whether it's with a family member or hearing stories from a family member about their experience in municipal court. And I believe that it is so important for the judge to present the justice system in a way that makes everyone know that they will be treated fairly in that court. And as judge of the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Strickland Saffold?
Thank you. When I'm elected judge to the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, I will be the first ever elected Black individual elected to the bench and the first woman of color elected to the bench to serve for Shaker Heights Municipal Court. Representation matters. Having the youth of our community see someone that looks like them, and we live in such a diverse community, and they can relate to and identify with is hugely important. Beyond that, and throughout my candidacy and before it, I have been establishing relationships with the local schools. There is a group of young judges in Houston, Texas, that have established a program that runs on the weekends for young kids to come into the court and they learn what their rights are. The most positive and impactful thing that I intend to do as judge for the Shaker Heights Municipal Court is have an educational program made available to each of the 5 school districts so that children can come in and learn your rights as a citizen of the United States and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Creed?
Thank you. I've spent my career teaching and mentoring our youth, and it's one of my great joys. In particular, the Stokes Scholars Program at the Bar Association. I keep up with my students that I've mentored, and I would continue to do that here at Shaker Heights Municipal Court. I think it's very important to teach. As a matter of fact, I taught a class here last Friday to the criminology class and the TOK class, and the kids had some really great questions, and so it was really a thrill to come and teach. So I continue teaching, I would continue mentoring, and I would also offer court in the classroom. We do that in Common Pleas Court, where we actually hold a hearing actually here in the school, so that the students can see, the judge and the defendant and the representation that they have. And so I think it's really important to bring it directly to the students. Thank you.
And our last question, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get to all the questions, but I'll end it with this question. How do you see the court's role in the likelihood of an increase in evictions in the next few months as a result of the national COVID pandemic and subsequent increases in unemployment? And when I get to you, if you need me to repeat the question, just let me know. And I will start with Ms. Walton Keller.
I won't ask you to repeat it on the first one. I see the court as playing an important role, although the court needs to remain impartial. So the court needs to make sure that the rights of tenants and landlords are protected. However, the court can provide resources, and we have partnered with legal aid in order to make sure, and I was instrumental in developing those resources, packets of information distributed to people, working with legal aid to make the court available if attorneys want to appear and represent people in eviction cases. This is absolutely a crisis, and the court needs to do everything it can to make sure that people's rights are protected, including those of the rights of tenants who are struggling during this time, while maintaining the appropriate level of neutrality that is appropriate and required of a municipal court judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Strickland Saffold?
Thank you. So the eviction rate has grown exponentially, or I guess the tension as it pertains to evictions and landlord-tenant relationships. That is a docket that the Shaker Heights Municipal Court carries. I believe that the most important thing that the judge in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court can bring with respect to these issues is an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. In order to try to resolve these cases and these situations amicably, especially in light of the struggle that is presented with folks financially with respect to tenants, and as well as protect the rights of landlords. But alternative dispute resolution and mediation will be key and paramount to trying to amicably resolve these situations before litigants have to actually initiate the litigation process. And that's something that I intend on bringing to the court, pandemic or otherwise. Hopefully we get through this soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Creed?
I currently serve on the advisory committee for the Right to Counsel program, which you may have heard of. It's in Cleveland, in the city of Cleveland, they have an ordinance that people are entitled to counsel if they meet certain guidelines. It's a partnership between legal aid and United Way. So I've been part of this program. I sit on their advisory committee. I'm well aware of what they're doing, and they're looking to expand. And I think Shaker Heights is the perfect place for them to expand. They have a 93% success rate in their first year. So it's important for the court to be neutral because landlords have rights and tenants have rights, but we have to make sure that everyone is taken care of. I would bring the Right to Counsel program, hopefully, to Shaker. We could expand it here. Like I said, I already have the connections because I sit on the advisory committee, and I think it would be a really important program here in Shaker. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Satola?
Yeah, I don't think you'll find a lot of diversion or disagreement among the four of us as to the importance of the eviction crisis and what happened when with the Supreme Court and the Sixth Circuit decisions that the CDC moratoriums had to end. One of the two ideas or two things that have already been expressed are true. One is to encourage and find alternative resources that are available for people that are facing eviction. And then, as Ms. Saffold said, a lot can be done, especially through municipal courts, through mediation or trying to get the parties together to see if there is something outside of a legal solution that may be done through a payment plan or the like. If you look on my record, you'll see that I actually have extensive mediation training through a program on negotiation that is conducted by Harvard Law School. And it's something where you learn a lot about what's important to the parties. And often that's a solution in the middle can be found. And I think that's something that would be a factor here.
Thank you. And now it's time for our closing statements from the candidates. And again, reminder, 1 minute for your closing statement, and we'll start with Ms. Creed.
So people have asked me, why do you want to be judge in the Shaker Heights Municipal Court? And I say, I want to bring my broad legal and life experience to bear here in Shaker, the community that I love. This would be the culmination of my legal career. Judge Montgomery, who's in the audience tonight, is a beloved leader of our community. But now that she's retired, it's time for a change. And I want to be that change. I want to bring everything I've learned in my 30 years as a lawyer here to Shaker Heights Municipal Court. Access to justice is so important, and I can make a difference here in the community that I love. Sometimes people are unsure of what to do, but I want to make sure that they know what's happening and they understand their rights and that they feel like they've gotten a fair shake. That's really important, and we want to bring that to our court here. I want to bring my legal experience and my life experience to bear. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Saffold?
Thank you. I want to bring a reflection of our community to the court that serves our communities. I want to be the first elected woman of color to sit on this bench, and I want to bring my experience as a criminal defense litigator, having tried and litigated thousands of cases, to the bench. I want folks to feel like they're seen. My nature as a person, I'm a helper. I want to help our community by keeping it safe. I want to reduce recidivism in our community by implementing and expanding upon the programming that already exists there and making it more comprehensive so that we help the individuals who are facing the criminal charges, and we help our community by keeping it safe by redirecting those energies and fixing the person. That's the way we get to the root of the problems that present themselves in the court. I want to make sure that justice is accessible, it's equitable, and it is transparent. There will be no disparate impact in sentencing moving forward. I want to serve the people that I live around, and I'm grateful for you guys coming tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walton Keller?
Thank you. The word judge is not only a noun, it's a verb. I'm the only candidate who is before you tonight who has practiced in municipal court and has also been a magistrate and acting judge in municipal court. I am the most prepared for this position. During the past year and a half, I've helped to see the court through COVID. I've obtained grants on behalf of the court for technology and to help defendants who can't afford other resources. I want to continue those practices. I want to continue the existing practices in the court, such as our already existing mediation docket for things like evictions. I want to continue the court's great practice of diverting cases. And I want to treat people fairly and with respect and be the face of the court where people find themselves in the cities of Shaker, Beachwood, University Heights, Pepper Pike, and Hunting Valley. And I thank you all for listening so carefully tonight and for your time. And I hope to earn your support on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Satola?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to use my concluding minute to again thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to be able to speak with you. I think my simple message will be, I ask you each to do your own independent research, not only what you do here today listening to us or what you may see in campaign mailings or literature that we may have, but also just talk to your community. Search the internet as to what we've done. It's hard in 1 minute to say what this is, but I'll say that I think not only the breadth of my legal experience is something that would be an advantage to the court, but also I can say another lesson I've learned in the last 8 years as an Alzheimer's caregiver is the importance of listening and caring and understanding the dignity that all people deserve. It's something that's really been very close to me these last years, and probably the most rewarding part of my life was to do that. My mother passed away from Alzheimer's almost exactly today, 1 year ago. And I will say that's a lesson in life that's important, that is part of who I am. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to our candidates. And